She tried to destroy me with a folder of fake mistakes. I brought her down with a leather-bound notebook full of gratitude. But the real revenge, it came when my truth turned a toxic office into a movement and left her no place to hide. I was unwrapping my turkey sandwich when I saw them two people in navy blazers with clipboards through the break room window. They stood just outside my cubicle, and I didn't need a heartbeat to guess why they were there. My heart didn't race. It just knew. Tessa Carmichael had finally done it. The compliance officers moved like they owned the place, rifling through my workspace. One photographed my monitor. The other opened my drawers, latex gloves snapping as if I were contagious. I watched for about 30 seconds. Then I stood, smoothed my skirt, and walked straight to them. "Find anything interesting?" I asked, voice steady. The taller one looked up from my filing cabinet. "Miss Rodriguez, we're conducting a routine inspection based on reports of workplace violations." "Routine, right?" I replied, lips tight. I knew exactly which reports they meant, and I knew exactly who had filed them. 3 cubicles away, Tessa hovered with fox concern, pretending to organize papers, watching it all unfold. She'd been building this moment for months. "What kind of violations?" I asked. "Unprofessional conduct, systematic errors in client communications, potential safety hazards in workspace organization." The shorter officer read from his notes, not even looking at me. "We need to complete the inspection before you can return to your workstation." I nodded and stepped back. "Let me tell you who I am before I tell you what happened next. My name is Anna Morales. I'm 32 years old and have worked at Horizon Mutual Insurance for years. I manage high-value client accounts, which means when I mess up, it costs serious money." Tessa joined 6 months after me. From the moment she walked in, she carried this quiet, heavy air, like she believed she was smarter, better, more deserving. She wasn't interested in teamwork. She was interested in domination. She'd interrupt my client calls to clarify points I'd already explained. She'd CC our supervisor on emails correcting grammar that didn't need fixing. She volunteered for my projects, only to suggest improvements that made no strategic sense. But what truly got under her skin was that I didn't play her game. I didn't advertise my wins. I didn't share client praise in team meetings. I just did my work and left, and that made me invisible to her ambition. Unbeatable in a way she couldn't measure. So she started watching me. She logged what time I arrived, when I took breaks, how long did my lunch last. She lingered by my desk, asking innocent questions, feigning curiosity. I knew early on what was happening. Tessa wasn't just competitive. She was building a case. So I gave her one. I started making small, deliberate mistakes. Nothing career-ending. Just a little breadcrumbs for her to chase. I'd type Thursday instead of Friday in an email and correct it an hour later. I'd misfile a document, then quietly refile it the next day. I used affect instead of effect in a memo, then fixed it during proofreading. Every slip-up was calculated. She took the bait. One afternoon, I passed her desk and saw the folder open on her screen. She hadn't locked it when she went to the restroom. The label, Anna Morales Performance Documentation. Inside were emails, screenshots, and notes in her handwriting detailing every minor inconsistency. While she built her file, I built something else, a gratitude journal. I heard about the concept on a productivity podcast. Every evening before I left work, I jotted down 3 good things about my day: a helpful colleague, a grateful client, a kind gesture. The entries were specific. Daniel Cho from accounting stayed late to help me understand the new billing software. His patience made a frustrating day so much better. Client Mrs. Patterson called just to thank me for the follow-up on her claim. Alicia brought coffee for the team during the budget meeting. Small gesture, big impact, page after page, day after day. A record of human decency. I didn't hide it. I kept the journal in my desk drawer, right next to my pens and stapler. I didn't realize it then, but I was accidentally creating a ledger of our workplace soul. 6 months after I began the journal, Tessa made her move. She called a meeting with Mr. Walsh, our supervisor, and the compliance department. She presented her folder, accused me of creating risks for the company, cited repeated inconsistencies and professional negligence. Mr. Walsh listened, reviewed her evidence, and by policy, authorized a compliance investigation. Tessa requested that the inspection happen while I was at lunch, so I couldn't sanitize anything, which is why I returned to find two officers dissecting my workspace. They examined everything: my inbox, professionally worded emails, my filing cabinet alphabetized, color-coded, my CRM system clean, compliant, efficient. Then, the shorter officer opened the bottom desk drawer. "What's this?" he asked, pulling out the leather-bound journal. "Personal notes," I said. "Just some thoughts about work." He flipped a few pages, reading silently. Then he looked at his partner and nodded. "Miss Rodriguez," the taller one said, "would you mind if we reviewed this notebook more thoroughly? It appears to contain workplace observations that might be relevant." "Of course," I said. "Take all the time you need." They sat at my desk and began reading, not scanning, studying, page by page. 5 minutes. 10. 15. A hush fell over the office. Conversations softened. People craned their necks. Even Tessa edged closer. 20 minutes passed. "Miss Rodriguez," the shorter officer finally said, "how long have you been keeping this journal?" 18 months. "All entries are authentic?" "Yes. It's just my way of staying positive. A habit." He exchanged another look with his partner. Then, the taller one approached Tessa. "Miss Carmichael, could we speak with you privately?" I watched her confidence melt as she followed them into the conference room. Through the glass wall, I could see the meeting unfold. Her hands moved defensively. Her face turned red. Eventually, she broke, crying. Shoulders slumped. They emerged half. An hour later, Tessa walked straight to her cubicle, avoiding every gaze. The officers returned to me. "Miss Rodriguez," the shorter one said, "we're closing the investigation. No findings of misconduct." Relief washed through me. But they weren't finished. The taller officer opened the journal. "In 18 months," he said, "you've documented 63 co-workers, positive contributions, kindness, professionalism." I nodded. He paused. "Tessa Carmichael's name appears 0 times." I blinked. "That wasn't intentional. We believe you." He shut the journal gently. "The irony is, she documented your mistakes. You documented your values. And in the end, that's what spoke loudest." They left quietly. I sat at my desk, surrounded by normal office noise, holding a notebook that had saved my career. But the story wasn't over. Not even close. The morning after the compliance officers cleared me, the office felt quieter. Not literally, keyboards still clicked, phones still rang, but there was a noticeable shift in the energy around me, like the silence after a thunderstorm. People passed by my desk with hesitant nods or slightly longer glances. Some smiled, grateful it wasn't them. Others just looked confused, as though they'd missed something important. Tessa didn't show up that day. Her cubicle sat empty, chair pushed in with precision, as though she'd never existed. I wasn't surprised. If I were her, I'd take a sick day too, but I wasn't her. I came in, answered client emails, updated my reports, and wrote in my journal. Just like always, the entry that day was simple: grateful to be seen for who I am. She returned on Thursday, right on time, 9:00 a.m. with the same blazer, the same tidy bun, the same falsely warm smile. But something was off. Her steps were smaller, more cautious. Her eyes darted from face to face like a tourist in a hostel city. "Morning," she offered, to no one in particular. Alicia gave her a quick nod. Daniel didn't even look up. I just watched. Tessa sat at her desk and didn't speak again for 4 hours. No hovering, no unsolicited grammar corrections, no loud phone calls, just silence. For a while, I thought that maybe, just maybe, the confrontation had humbled her, that she'd realized what her actions had cost, that maybe the absence of her name in 18 months of gratitude had struck a nerve. But then Daniel stopped by my desk that afternoon, holding a paper coffee cup and looking uneasy. "Hey, Anna," he said, voice low. "Can I ask you something kind of weird?" I nodded. "Of course. Did you know Tessa's been asking people about your journal?" My stomach tensed. "What kind of questions?" "She caught me in the break room yesterday. Started asking if I knew you were writing about people at work. Whether I was comfortable being written about. Said it might be a privacy issue. I didn't respond right away. Just blinked. She's trying to turn it into something creepy," Daniel continued. "Like you're spying on everyone or keeping tabs on us." I forced a breath in through my nose. "What did you say to her?" I told her I thought it was thoughtful. I appreciated being noticed. "But Anna, she's not just asking me. Alicia said she's been approached too. And Mr. Walsh. She's making the rounds." I felt something cold settle over my ribs. Tessa wasn't backing down. She was pivoting. If she couldn't win through official channels, she'd try through rumor. I spent the rest of the afternoon testing Daniel's theory. I walked the floor, initiated conversations, smiled, like always, and noticed a difference. Alicia's usual warm banter was clipped. Mr. Walsh's thanks for the update felt hollow. Even the security guard who usually joked with me during lunch runs just nodded and returned to his clipboard. The damage had begun. That night, I sat in bed staring at the ceiling, journal unopened on my nightstand. My practice, something deeply personal, quietly positive, was being reframed as manipulative, as surveillance, as predatory, and the worst part, no defense wouldn't sound defensive. Tessa was a master at that. She knew exactly how to plant a seed and let it grow on its own. But I knew something she didn't. Sunlight kills rod. So I opened my laptop and started drafting an email. Subject: Personal journal, transparency and consent. The everyone. Some of you may have heard that I keep a personal gratitude journal where I occasionally note positive workplace interactions. I wanted to be fully transparent about this practice and make sure everyone feels comfortable with it. The journal is a private reflection tool, something I use to stay focused on the good moments in a sometimes stressful job. It's never been shared with management, used for performance discussions, or referenced in any official context. However, if anyone prefers that I not include them in future entries, I completely respect that. Just let me know. It won't affect our working relationship in any way. I value all of you as colleagues and want our environment to feel safe and supportive for everyone. Best. And I hit send and waited. Within the hour, my inbox lit up. "Daniel, keep writing, please. This place needs more kindness, not less. Alicia, didn't know you were doing this, but I love it. You always make people feel seen. Don't stop. Mr. Walsh, I appreciate your transparency. Your journal sounds like an excellent practice. Thanks for addressing it directly." 37 responses in total. 36 supportive. One person didn't respond at all, Tessa. But something bigger started happening in the days that followed. People started writing their gratitude notes. Alicia left post-its on desks. "Thanks for helping me with the budget draft." Daniel brought muffins with a note. "Appreciate working with all of you." Mr. Walsh began team meetings by spotlighting someone who had gone above and beyond. The practice spread like wildfire, and in that new light, Tessa began to shrink. Her toxic energy, once normalized in our stress-filled office, now stuck out like a cracked note in a symphony. She tried to adapt, said thank you more often, offered compliments, but they rang hollow, because gratitude, unlike strategy, can't be faked. 3 weeks after I sent that email, Mr. Walsh called me into his office. "Anna," he said, "I wanted to thank you. The morale shift around here, it's palpable. People feel better, work better." I nodded, unsure where this was going. "But," he continued, "this clarity has also highlighted a pattern. With one team member," he opened a folder on his desk. Inside were complaints, incidents, and informal feedback all about Tessa. Individually, these seemed like minor issues, but in context, a pattern of undermining, conflict, disruption. He looked up. "The compliance report confirmed what we suspected. But your journal? It showed us the contrast. What positive relationships look like, and what toxicity is." My throat tightened. "Tessa's being moved," he said. to a role that doesn't require much collaboration. It's not a demotion, but it's a transition. I nodded slowly. She requested a transfer to another state, he added. Fresh start. I didn't feel triumphant, just the truth. Because this wasn't about winning. It was about being seen clearly and letting the light expose what couldn't survive under it. And the irony. In trying to document my destruction, Tessa had only revealed her own title. The gratitude-led earth transfer didn't happen quietly. By the time Tessa's departure was announced at the weekly stand-up, whispers had already traveled through every cubicle row like a current of electric curiosity. Tessa's moving to Portland, someone whispered in the break room. It's not a promotion. Lateral at best, someone else murmured by the printer. But to me, it wasn't gossip, it was foreshadowing. The kind of pivot someone makes is not to improve, but to regroup. My instinct was right. A week before she left, Tessa requested a final one-on-one meeting with Mr. Walsh. No one knew what they discussed, but she emerged tight-lipped, her expression unreadable. No smugness, no defeat, just silence. And then she stopped speaking to anyone. Not coldly, not overtly. She simply disengaged. She attended meetings but didn't contribute. She completed assignments but never commented on others' work. She walked past people without making eye contact. And when her final Friday came, there was no goodbye email, no farewell cupcakes, no team lunch, just an empty cubicle. By 11 o'clock a.m., her chair still turned slightly to the right, as if she just stood up for a moment. The quiet that followed wasn't relief. It was something heavier, like ash. And for reasons I couldn't fully explain, I felt it in my bones. I spent the weekend hiking, hoping the wind and silence of the forest trail would reset me. But on Monday, as I stood in the elevator riding up to our 12th floor, something told me the story wasn't over. It wasn't. The first sign came during the budget review meeting. Daniel's spreadsheet was missing key numbers from the client forecast sheet, an error that would have been caught if anyone else had looked. I thought Tessa was handling those projections, Daniel said, rubbing his temples. She was, Alicia replied, but I didn't know she'd finalized them. We all looked at one another. For the first time in months, we had no antagonist, but we also had no scapegoat. And that's when the fractures began. Collaboration slowed. Tiny tensions, once masked by Tessa's loud presence, began surfacing between other team members. Was Alicia too controlling on shared projects? Was Daniel avoiding extra responsibilities? Was Anna, the quiet observer, too detached? The gratitude culture I'd unwittingly sparked had been a spotlight. While it revealed the good, it also illuminated the cracks. Not all of them were Tessa-shaped. The second sign came on a Tuesday morning. I found a manila envelope on my desk. No name, no markings. Inside, 22 pages of printed journal entries. Mine, dates, names, and hand-marked annotations in red. Some entries had underlined phrases. One had a sticky note that read, "Is this ethical? Is it legal?" My chest clenched. My first instinct was to look around. Who had been in my desk? Who had access? Only one answer made sense. Tessa. She had printed them before she left. Left them like a curse, waiting to detonate. I took the envelope straight to Mr. Walsh. He looked through it with a tired sigh, rubbing his eyes. "This isn't a company violation," he said eventually. "These are personal reflections, not performance reports, not formal documentation." I nodded, but I could hear the tremor in his voice. "But it's unnerving," I said. "It was meant to be." "Agreed," he said. "She left her fingerprints on it, even in her absence." He tucked the envelope into a locked drawer. "We'll keep it contained," he said, but containment wasn't possible, not with fire. A week later, a new rumor began to circulate. Someone in HR had received a tip that my journal had violated internal ethics standards, creating an unofficial profiling system of colleagues. The phrasing was deliberate, familiar. Tessa. Even from 900 miles away, she wasn't done. This time, I didn't wait. I called a meeting. Everyone, Alicia, Daniel, even Mr. Walsh joined me in the large glass-walled conference room. I placed my journal on the table. Before this becomes anything it's not, I want everyone to hear directly from me. My voice didn't shake. I opened the leather-bound book and read one entry aloud. Daniel stayed an extra 90 minutes to walk me through the pivot table formulas I couldn't wrap my head around. His patience turned a frustrating day into a productive one. Then another. Alicia brought soup when I had a sore throat. No fanfare, just a quiet gesture. I didn't realize how much I needed that. And one more. Mr. Walsh gave me space to lead today's pitch. He trusted me with a big client, and it went well. I looked up. These aren't strategies. They aren't records. They're acknowledgments. A way for me to stay human in a system that doesn't always reward humanity. Silence. Then Daniel reached across the table and flipped to another page. He smiled. Daniel laughed so hard at my coffee spill he choked on his croissant. Laughter is good medicine. I forgot that day, but now I remember. Laughter cracked through the tension, and with it came a choice. We could go backward, or we could burn the rot for good. The next morning, Mr. Walsh announced a new initiative, the Appreciation Wall, an anonymous space where anyone could post notes of gratitude about their coworkers. Digital or handwritten. It started slow. One sticky note, thank you to whoever restocked the coffee. Small miracle. Then 3 more. Then 30. Then more than the board could hold. People were seeing each other again. Not through Tessa's lens, but through their own. One day, Alicia stopped by with a small box. Inside, a new leather journal. This one's for the next chapter, she said, and I knew then. The fire Tessa lit was meant to destroy me. Instead, it had burned down everything fake, leaving only what was real. And real things don't burn. 3 months had passed since the fire, the metaphorical one that swept through our department, burning old loyalties, unmasking hidden rot, and illuminating what was left standing. To outsiders, our team looked the same cubicles, the same floor, the same tight smiles over coffee. But beneath the surface, we were different. Stronger, more cautious, and quietly loyal to one another in ways that couldn't be measured by KPIs or status reports. My journal, reborn, renamed, and reclaimed, sat in its usual drawer. I still wrote in it, though less obsessively. It had shifted from a lifeline to a companion, less a mirror, more a witness. And then on a Wednesday afternoon, it began again, a new hire. Her name was Clarissa Lang. She joined as a junior analyst, replacing the vacancy left open after Tessa's departure. She was bright, eager, nervous in a way that reminded me of my first weeks, hovering between self-assurance and self-doubt. Clarissa asked lots of questions, too many according to Daniel, but Alicia and I saw her potential. So I made a note that day. Clarissa asked the right question during the budget meeting, one I didn't think to ask. She made us pause and rethink the projection. I'm glad she's here. I didn't show it to her. I didn't have to. The practice wasn't about recognition. It was about awareness, about staying present. But the storm was coming. I felt it in the shifts. Daniel became terse in emails. Alicia stopped joining lunch walks. Clarissa began showing up earlier and leaving later. And then someone mentioned the whispers. Anna's journal is back. She's taking notes again. Careful what you say, she documents everything. The déjà vu hit like a migraine. History wasn't repeating. It was mutating. That Friday, I found an anonymous envelope in my inbox. Inside, a photocopied page of my journal. My handwriting. My own words. But the sentence had been circled in red ink. Clarissa shows a spark of insight I didn't expect. Reminds me of myself in year 1. Below, typed in a different hand. This is inappropriate workplace commentary. Potential for mentorship bias. I stared at the note for a long time. Then I closed my laptop and walked out into the afternoon sun, letting the wind sting my face. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat on my fire escape, journal in lap, staring at the city lights and trying to understand how a record of appreciation could feel like contraband. And that's when the realization hit. This wasn't about me. Not anymore. It was about the stories we tell ourselves and each other about what's acceptable, about what's seen, about what's real. My journal had always been a mirror, but some people don't want mirrors. They want curtains. So I made a decision. Monday morning, I entered the office early, beat everyone in. I walked to the appreciation wall, now faded and dusty, like a relic from a season that had passed, and I took it all down. Every sticky note, every digital printout, every half-crumpled "thanks for grabbing my lunch" slip. Gone. In its place, I left a single sheet of paper with a typed message. Appreciation isn't a wall, it's a habit. If we can't live it without pinning it to something, we never lived it at all. People were confused, some hurt. Daniel was blunt about it. You're letting the ghosts win. But he was wrong, because it wasn't about ghosts. It was about light, about making sure the mirror didn't become a weapon. Weeks passed. Clarissa flourished. She challenged ideas in meetings. She collaborated without fear. She smiled more. Daniel softened again. Alicia rediscovered her spark. And I began documenting less and living more. The journal became a monthly ritual. Not daily, not obsessive, just real. And the last entry I wrote, before closing the book for the season, said this: gratitude, when hoarded, curdles into control. But when shared without expectation, it heals. It outlasts whispers. It survives fire. And it did, because the final revenge Tessa never saw coming was that I didn't need revenge at all, only truth. And the truth is, you can't kill what's honest. You can only try to silence it. And some stories were never meant to whisper. They were meant to ring.